In the luxurious banquet hall, Palcoa's arrogant laughter echoed, drowning out the gentle music. He leaned back in his armchair, his eyes gleaming with triumph. "Ha ha! I can't believe he actually brought her. Giss just needs a little nudge and he'll do his job," he said to the person beside him, then shot a commanding look at the boy, with remorse and confusion. Sweat beaded on his temples as a painful question swirled in his mind. He glanced at Amy sitting quietly in a corner, and regret rose in his throat. Should I have done this? The scene from a few minutes earlier flashed before his eyes. Isn't that... Giss quickly hid behind a large pillar, holding his breath as he watched a waiter in uniform standing at the bar. From his hiding place, he stared in disbelief as the man surreptitiously dropped something into a glass of red wine. The white powder dissolved, creating magical sparkling streaks in the ruby liquid. Loop. A name suddenly flashed through his mind. I've heard about it. Palcoa controls many noble families. Don't tell me he does it through... The waiter calmly placed the drugged glass of wine on a silver tray. A horrifying truth began to dawn, and Giss's face contorted in utter terror.
Giss gritted his teeth, a gold tooth flashing wickedly, his eyes burning with intense resentment. The dame thing? He's turning them into puppets, beings who can't live without Loop. In contrast to the tense atmosphere, Amy Carmus gracefully raised a pink cocktail to her lips, her expression completely indifferent, seemingly unconcerned about the chaos unfolding. Suddenly, the large doors burst open. Two hulking men with fierce expressions stormed in, one roaring, "Hey, you lot, this isn't a place for kids like..." But he didn't finish his sentence. As quick as lightning, Rian unleashed a devastating kick to one's face, while Elzine simultaneously landed a neat punch to the other's jaw. The two thugs were sent flying backward in astonishment. Standing right behind them, Shirone maintained a steady stance, his blue eyes flashing calmly, ready for whatever was to come.
A dry thud echoed as Rian decisively struck, knocking a guard onto the hard stone floor. The guard only managed a bewildered "huh" before collapsing. Around him, his comrades shared the same fate, lying scattered on the ground. One survivor frantically ran up the stairs, his voice cracking with fear. "Intruder! Did anyone see him?" His alarm was quickly drowned out by the throbbing music and the frenzied atmosphere of a massive hall. Purple, green, and pink lights flashed incessantly over a sea of people dancing to the music. On the extravagant stage, an all-female band was igniting the atmosphere. Blending into the chaotic crowd, Elzine couldn't hide her awe and worry, exclaiming, "This place is huge! Amy is in a place like this?" Shirone, her face hardened, a bead of sweat on her temple, replied in a low and urgent voice, "I don't know what they're planning to do with Amy, but we have to find her quickly. Everyone stay alert. There isn't a single guard here on our side." Rian, his sharp eyes scanning the vast space, suggested, "Let's search the upper floors first."
The hurried and frantic footsteps echoed through the ornate stairwell as Rian and Elzine rushed upwards. They swept past the third floor, a lavish casino, dazzling with lights and immersed in boisterous sounds. Elegant gentlemen and sophisticated ladies surrounded the gaming tables, the air thick with tension and excitement. A gambler with bloodshot eyes roared in desperation, "Damn it, spin it again!" But the group didn't stop. They continued to the fourth floor, the VIP area. The hallway was lined with luxurious red carpet, flanked by intricately carved wooden doors. With a loud bang, Rian kicked open a door with all his might. All three shouted in unison desperately, "Amy!" However, what greeted them was not who they were looking for. A gambler relaxing in a private room jumped in surprise, shouting angrily, "Ah, who the hell are you?" The three stood frozen in the hallway, disappointment and exhaustion etched on their faces. Shirone, after a moment of silence, spoke with a pensive expression, her eyes sharpening. "Searching room by room like this will take too long. Instead, we should make everyone evacuate the building."
As the door burst open, a man in a sleek suit frantically pointed in their direction, his voice screaming above the din. "There they are, the bastards!" Elzine, with her golden hair, flinched, her green eyes widening in surprise at the sudden chaos. Immediately, a towering figure blocked the path. The bouncer, a mountain of muscle, stamped his foot on the floor, a sneer spreading across his face.
He cracked his knuckles, the threatening sound echoing in the space. He looked Shirone's group up and down before scoffing. Well, what's this? Looks like a bunch of snot-nosed kids? His gaze lingered on Elzine, sweeping over her in a lewd manner. The bouncer spoke, his tone a mix of admiration and contempt. Well, this little one isn't bad, but what's with the outfit? You should have dressed nicer. Were you baking somewhere? Meanwhile, Rian quietly observed the giant man before him, thinking to himself, he's huge. With that, the bouncer extended his massive hand, aiming to grab Elzine. Let me. He left the sentence unfinished with a lewd grin. But before his hand could touch her, it was abruptly stopped. The earlier fear on Elzine's face had completely vanished, replaced by a sharp, furious gaze. Her green eyes seemed to glow with contained energy. In a lightning-fast movement, she seized the giant's wrist, halting his advance with unbelievable force.
A blood-curdling scream tore through the luxurious atmosphere of the nightclub. The burly security guard's eyes widened, his face contorted in pain as Elzine's small hand snapped his finger with a dry crack. With an ice-cold expression, Elzine said mockingly, instead of judging other people's fashion, why don't you train your fingers to be tougher? The excruciating pain only allowed him a weak groan, but Elzine didn't give him a second to recover. Quick as lightning, she spun around, using incredible force to twist his massive arm backward. Not stopping there, she unleashed a devastating punch, her small but powerful fist landing squarely in the middle of the guard's face. A resounding thwack echoed, and blood spurted from his mouth and nose. The large man fell backward, crashing onto the polished floor in the astonished gazes of those around him. As the guard lay sprawled on the ground, unconscious, Elzine stood up straight and dusted off her hands. Behind her, Rian flashed an excited grin. Elzine glanced down at her defeated opponent, uttering one last disdainful remark, just a weakling.
Shirone clapped her hands in admiration, her face beaming. Tess, you're amazing! Standing beside her, Rian could only stare in disbelief, cold sweat trickling down his forehead as he witnessed the scene. Elzine smiled confidently, glancing at Rian. I knew you'd understand, Shirone, unlike someone who just stands there speechless. Rian muttered in his throat, still in shock. Good heavens, she's unreasonably strong. Meanwhile, the other guard who had been knocked out was cowering on the luxurious red carpet. Seeing Rian approach, he frantically scrambled backward, his voice trembling. Don't come any closer. We have people all over this building, you know. It's only a matter of time before you guys are... Heek! The guard's scream was abruptly cut off. Rian had lunged forward, grabbed him by the collar, and lifted him off the ground with ease. Never mind that. Where's Amy? Rian growled, his eyes blazing with anger. The guard turned deathly pale with fear and quickly cried out, I don't know. Who is that? His denial only infuriated Rian further, and he hissed through his teeth, What, you bastard? Just then, Shirone gently placed a hand on Ryan's tightening arm. I think it's useless to ask him something he doesn't know. Rian turned around, still angry, but resigned to asking, So, what do we do now? We just need to ask him what he does know, Shirone calmly replied. With that, he brushed Ryan's hand aside and grabbed the guard by the collar himself. His eyes turned cold and sharp. The guard flinched, his whole body trembling. He felt a pressure even more terrifying than Ryan's rage. Facing Shirone's calm but threatening blue eyes, the guard's face contorted with utter terror.
Shirone's eyes blazed with an icy blue light, chillingly cold. He gripped the guard's collar, his voice deep and menacing, pressing directly into the man's mind. Tell me where Palcoa is. A shiver ran down the guard's spine. In his pupils, shrinking with terror, Shirone's image loomed threateningly. Cold sweat poured out as he stammered in utter horror. Maybe in the first basement level, in the sanctum. As soon as they had the information, the group wasted no time. They charged straight into a long, luxurious hallway, carpeted in red and illuminated by magnificent crystal chandeliers. Their sudden appearance stunned the guards stationed there. One of them shouted in panic, Who are you? Don't let them get to the boss. But the warning came too late. Rian, Shirone, and Elzine surged forward like an unstoppable storm. The guards were quickly defeated, collapsing in the chaos. The piercing scream of one of the sentries echoed through the hallway before abruptly cutting off as he was struck down. Stop them! Stop!
The guard only had time to widen his eyes in horror, his fist clenching in an unconscious reflex. But it was too late.
A dry, gruesome crack echoed through the hall. Before he could realize what was happening, Ryan's fist, as fast as lightning, slammed into the jaw of one of his accomplices. The terrible impact sent the large man flying backward, blood spurting from his mouth, his body collapsing to the floor like a puppet with cut strings. Without a second's rest, Elzine acted. With a graceful yet deadly swivel, she unleashed a powerful kick. The heel of her pristine white high heel drove straight into the face of another guard, creating a sharp, ringing sound. Witnessing the terrifying scene, the remaining two guards could only gape, screaming in terror as their comrades were easily defeated. Amidst the chaos, under the magnificent chandelier, Ryan stood firm, his burning yellow eyes coldly scanning the trembling men. His fist tightened, ready for anyone who dared to step forward.
A deafening explosion suddenly tore through the ceiling of the luxurious room, sending plaster and debris raining down. Two guards were thrown to the floor, scattered like broken puppets amidst the chaotic scene. Below, amidst the panicked dignitaries, Palcoa looked up at the hole in the ceiling, his face contorted with rage. He roared, revealing a flash of gold tooth. "What? Which bastards dare to intrude upon my sanctuary?" Huddled in a corner, Giss was so stunned he had to cover his mouth. He stammered in shock and disbelief. "What? Isn't that? How did they get here?" From within the swirling dust and smoke, three figures landed gracefully on the floor. Leading the way was Rian, his face set with determination, followed by Elzine, ever vigilant, and Shirone, with an unusual composure. The three stood firm, their eyes unwavering, ready to face their enemies. Shirone especially, his blue eyes icy, stared directly at Palcoa's people with a silent, intense pressure.
In a luxurious room bathed in warm, golden light, a nearly empty glass of wine stood forlornly on the table, lemon slices and mint leaves floating in the dark red liquid. Slumped motionless in an armchair, Amy Karmas, dressed in a stark black dress, seemed to have fallen into a deep sleep. Her fiery red hair lay loose, her eyes were closed, her expression utterly blank. The door burst open. Elzine Tess rushed in, her beautiful face contorted with horror and rage at the sight before her. She pointed directly at the figure standing in the shadows, her voice cracking with fury. "What have you done to Amy?" Looking down from above, Palcoa grinned wickedly, his gold teeth flashing in the light. He spoke in a condescending tone full of mockery. "Aha, you've come for your friend, have you? How unfortunate. I don't think your friend recognizes who you are." His words struck Elzine like a bucket of cold water. The room fell into a deathly silence, broken only by Palcoa's malicious expression and Elzine's shock. Shirone, his blue eyes flashed with a strange light, unusually calm. He quietly observed the entire situation, his face betraying no panic, as if everything was still under his control.
Shirone's sharp gaze pierced through the dim and stifling space, finally finding the person he was looking for. At the far end of the luxurious VIP room, Amy Karmas sat nestled in a lavish armchair, looking like a dethroned queen. Her face was haggard, her eyes staring blankly downwards, two burly guards standing rigidly on either side like stone statues. "Amy," Shirone called out, his voice firm and clear, breaking the heavy silence surrounding her. "Let's go home." Amy remained motionless, seemingly not hearing him. Just then, a large man with a thick beard and gold teeth stepped out, blocking Shirone's path. It was Palcoa. He smirked, his tone both casual and challenging. "She doesn't want to go. It's not like I kidnapped her or anything. Get these intruders out of my sight." A guard standing nearby turned, confused, and asked, "Where should we take them, sir?" The smile vanished from Palcoa's face, replaced by a look of madness and brutality. He roared, his eyes bulging like a wild beast. "Where do you think? To hell, of course!" Upon hearing the order, the two guards immediately took heavy strides, slowly advancing toward Shirone.
A heavy wave of pressure suddenly enveloped the space. The two guards standing there had eyes that burned with an eerie red glow, radiating intense, murderous intent. Shirone startled, his gaze freezing on the unexpected threat. Immediately, Elzine screamed in panic from behind. "Shirone, be careful! It's using forced compression!" An invisible but terrifying power, like a crimson tidal wave crashed directly into the group. Shirone, Elzine, and Rian were flung backward, their bodies soaring into the air for a moment, completely helpless against the tremendous force. In mid-air, Rian exclaimed in horror, "Forced compression?" Meanwhile, Elzine, though struggling to resist, still managed to recognize the nature of the attackers. She gritted her teeth, her face paling with terror and realization. Those guys, they're all Schema users.
Shirone realized a horrifying truth as he looked at the thugs surrounding him. The space was dyed a threatening red, and all the gangsters who surrounded them had unusually bright eyes. Even Rian, who was gritting his teeth and enduring, had been restrained. Shirone was stunned, his mind reeling. These thugs on this small island, they're all map users? Just who the hell is he? His gaze turned to the ringleader, Palcoa, who was arrogantly sitting on an armchair, enjoying the scene with a disgusting smile that revealed his yellow teeth. Amy is trapped in a place like this. Before that thought could finish, the image of Elzine struggling in fear struck Shirone's eyes. Rage immediately surged within him, a powerful and dangerous energy beginning to flow. Seeing Shirone about to lose control, Elzine shouted in panic, "Shirone, calm down!"
In a space ablaze with a tense red hue, Amy Karma stood, her expression pensive. Elzine's voice echoed, striving to hold on to a wavering soul. "You can't let your emotions overwhelm you." Those words struck Shirone like a bolt of lightning. He snapped his head up, his bright blue eyes widening, etched with shock and unbearable pain. A silent roar seemed to erupt from deep within him, and the scene before him dissolved into the night. Before Shirone now was no longer a painful memory, but a raging deluge. White-crested waves roared, screamed, and crashed violently. He stood there, shoulder to shoulder with Elzine and Rian, all three tensely facing the destructive power swirling before him. Suddenly, a colossal wall of water, towering into the sky, roared deafeningly and surged upwards, obscuring everything. Beneath the immense wave, Shirone's figure became small, helpless. Instantly, the ocean's fury crashed down, engulfing everything in a whitewash and utter chaos.
Suddenly, emotionless security guards appeared in unison, blocking the path. A chilling wave of murderous intent instantly spread, as if freezing the surrounding space.